Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming this evening, and thank you to Craft for having us. We are Sam and Orla. We're from Read Words, and we really like two things. We like overwrought metaphors and audience participation. Now, don't worry, we're not going to ask you to do anything weird. We have a little theory about how words work that we'd like to test out with you, and we'll do that in a couple of minutes. But first, let's start with a metaphor.
So we want you to imagine that you're holding a balloon full of ink, and in front of you is a tank full of water.
So stay with us on this. We'd like you to now take your balloon full of ink and lower it into your tank full of water. And then we'd like you to take a knife and to cut your balloon open. Now, two things are going to happen. One, the ink from your balloon is going to rush into the water and it's going to change the colour of it. But at the same time, the water is going to flow into your balloon and it's going to change the colour of your ink.
Okay, so why all this talk of balloons, you're probably wondering? Well, it's because we think this illustrates the way that words work. Because every word we use is full of meanings and associations, just like the balloon of ink. And when you use a word, when you burst it open like the balloon, all the meanings and associations, they come exploding out like the ink in the water. But something else is happening as well, and that's that the reader or the listener's own assumptions, their associations and experiences, they're getting mixed into the words, like the water is mixing the colour of the ink.
So, on the one hand, you have the literal meaning of a word, the dictionary definition. If I say I came here by train tonight, we all know what the word train means, we all know the object that represents. But at the same time, on the other side, you have what a word makes you feel, the emotions, the memories, the associations it creates for you. Even a little word like train can do that. For some of you, that might make you think of speed or efficiency or adventure. Or if you're a commuter in the UK, it might make you think of exasperation, frustration. So your experience of that word is two things coming together at once, the meaning and the feeling.
So we might instantly regret this, but we want to test our theory out on you. So what we're going to do is show you some words, and we want you to shout out first what that word means, literally, what's the meaning of the word, and then second, what it makes you feel like, what are the associations that you have with it. So we'll start with a word that we hope is pretty much guaranteed to get some reactions. Conservative.
Good, excellent, okay.
So what is the word conservative literally mean? Just shout.
We thought it was going to be wankers, but arseholes is also good.
Anything else? Maybe like a dictionary definition?
Boring.
Yeah, cool. So you can sort of start to see, even when we're in the literal meaning of a word, it's very different depending on where you're coming from. And what does the word conservative make you feel? Bad? Yeah, cool. Okay, great.
Okay, so let's try another one, maybe not quite so political, or maybe it is, you tell us. So the word is gold. First of all, what's the definition of gold? How would you describe that? What's the meaning of that word? Money, metal, the colour. You've already a few different things going on there. And then how does it make you feel? When you see it up on the screen, what does it start doing to you? Rich, yeah. Rich, envy, excited, maybe. So again, lots of different things coming together in that simple word.
So those two words obviously are quite packed full of meaning, but what if we try it with like something really ordinary, a boring word like apple? What does apple mean? I didn't catch that.
Snow White,
okay,
very
yeah.
good.
Yeah, cool. And how does it make you feel, the word apple? Any emotions coming up when you hear that word?
Paul, yeah.
I didn't even think of that, we're so attached. So yeah, obviously we're cheating a bit. Apple is a fruit, it's an ordinary word, but it's also the name of the biggest tech company in the world, and it has religious connotations for some people, or Charlie XCX connotations for others, or if you're a massive Beatles fan, you might think of Apple Records. And this is what we're getting at, right? So that's the exciting thing about words, we think, is that every single one is packed with meanings and feelings that you're going to generate from a reader when you use one. But the tricky thing is that those meanings and feelings are different depending on who you are and who you're talking to. So if your background is different, your politics, your experiences, it's going to change how you respond to words that you use. And then what about when you start putting multiple words together, right? That's where the real magic starts to happen, because then you've got all these individual word balloons exploding against each other. The meanings, the colors are combining. They're changing each other. So let's take an example. We think this is a really nice combination of words. Looks like a doll, dances like a demon. This is by Tom Sharp, who's a really talented writer and poet for the English National Ballet. And yeah, we think that the combination of words here is just right. It's these two conflicting ideas of looking like a doll, dancing like a demon, creating this really powerful conflict when they kind of explode against each other.
So words are not just words, they're packages of ideas, they're balloons waiting to burst open. Take a word like unleash. Now when you see that word, it might make you think of energy or excitement, maybe even a little intimidation. After all, if you're about to unleash something, it might be something that should stay on the leash. Now, it was those associations that made that word so useful to us when we worked with Formula One. Our brief alongside Wyden and Kennedy was to put the heart and soul back into the sport. It's meant to be about excitement and energy and adrenaline and even a little bit of chaos. But even the die-hard fans had started to feel those things had kind of drifted away. The sport was becoming cold and corporate and robotic and predictable. So how do you put the positive stuff back in? And more specifically, as a team of writers, how do you find a voice that allows Formula One to bring all those things to life wherever it shows up? This was our starting point. Think of this as page 1 of the Formula One tone of voice guidelines. This is the thing that we would give to a freelance writer, or a marketer, or a social media manager, anyone whose job it is to bring that voice to life. Now, there's a lot in here, but in the first moment, we just have a kind of simple instruction for them. We want them to unleash a voice of blood and oil. Now, blood and oil are two really important words there as well. Blood comes from the idea that Formula One should be about the emotions, the drama, the stories. Oil from the idea that it's about the tech, the engineering, the cars. You put those two words together, you put those two balloons in the same tank, and hopefully you start to get lots of interesting reactions. If nothing else, your writer, the person that's going to bring this voice to life, knows this isn't a voice that's going to play it safe. This is a voice that's meant to be aggressive. It's meant to take risks. Now, it's worth saying you could do this in a million ways. I mean, that's what's so amazing about words, is you can iterate constantly. You could have said something like, introducing our new tone of voice, and that's fine. It's valid. Lots of voice guidelines start in the same way. But even with the same visuals, the same typeface, I think we can all feel that the soul has kind of been lost here.
Naming, we think, is another great way to demonstrate the power of words. This, for example, Thimble, is a name that we came up with for an American insurance startup. And Thimble offers like small business insurance to people that are self-employed, like DJs or decorators and the like. So if you just need to insure yourself for an hour or a day or a week, you can just turn this insurance on when you need it and turn it off when you don't. And we thought Thimble was the brilliant name for it, because a thimble is a small piece of protection that you can easily pop on and take off when you need it and take it off when you don't. And yeah, this was just a really good metaphor for what Thimble does. And it's also quite an emotional word as well. It's got a certain charm to it, a certain friendliness, which really reflected this more personal form of insurance that Thimble was offering. And it really doesn't sound like any other insurance brand, so it stands out. It's also kind of a familiar word, like you might remember it from the Monopoly board, but it's not a word you would hear every day, so it was trademarkable, thankfully, and they even managed to get thimble.com. Or another one, wall baby, very different. 2 words in one here. This was for an online poster store in Sweden that we named a few years ago. And the name Wall Baby kind of gave birth to the entire brand identity behind the company, behind the brand, because it was all about choosing artwork based on your heart and not your head. So falling in love with the posters on your wall, being distracted by them, which led to this tone of voice that was all about seducing you with lines like, "Let me have my way with your walls." The launch campaign was, you're getting distracted from your actual loved ones by the artwork. even down to that really sort of bubbly, huggable typeface. Everything kind of stemmed from the name Wall Baby that sounds like this weird poster love child thing. So we think this kind of demonstrates that even a made-up word can have loads of associations bursting out of it, which can really work well in a brand's favor, in a brand builder's favor, because it just stands out way more than something like posters.com.
Okay, we have one more word for you this evening. It's not from one of our projects, but we think it's a word you're all going to be very familiar with. The word is, of course, slop. I'm sorry, guys, we couldn't not. We're at a design event. We're going to have to talk about it. We'll get into why it's such an interesting word in a moment, but first, a quick bit of history. So the word slop emerges in the mid-16th century, and it basically means something kind of slushy, something that you would feed to your herd of pigs, something that is basically unfit for human consumption. And it kind of stays that way for the next 450 years. Slop just bobbles along doing its own thing until a few years ago something starts to change. This is the Google Trend report for the word slop. It shows how frequently people have been looking for the word from 2004 to now. And you can see it's broadly consistent until a couple of years ago when something starts to change, or more specifically, someone arrives on the scene. It is, of course, Shrimp Jesus, His Holiness, and with him a tsunami of low-grade, low-quality, low-effort AI-generated slop. We've got the Ghibli knockoffs, the Labour anti-crime campaign, the Coca-Cola Christmas ad, and underneath it all, this lurking threat to human originality, to human creativity. Now, that's quite a complicated thing to explain. There's a lot to unpack there. Imagine talking to your grandparents about that, or your niece and nephew. And that's what makes the word slop so amazing. It's this four-letter word that has been plucked out of the English language and is now serving a much bigger and more interesting purpose. It's simple, it's memorable, it's packed with all these negative connotations of mess and rubbish and pigs and things that you shouldn't really be eating as a human. So it's gone from being this little hidden word to something that feels more like a weapon or an act of resistance from the creative industries.
So that's nearly it from us. We just want to leave you with one parting thought, and that is that it's really important to remember that words can do anything, or to be a bit more precise, the right words can do anything. You can capture the spirit of a sport, you can name an insurance company, or you can even galvanize an entire industry. So use them, unleash them. Thank you.
Thank you.